Let's just start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and good morning, good evening to everyone. Let me share the question with you. Just a minute. The name of the question is shuttle. Basically, in this question, we will be practicing of calculation of income tax liability. Before I start solving the question, I really want to know, am I audible to everyone? Everyone can listen to me. You can write in the chat box and make sure that you should be mute. Your mic should be closed. Amar Amjad, your mic is open. Please close your mic. Mute your mic, everyone. Otherwise, we'll be having a problem in recording. So please, thank you. Yes, that's great. Who is in the waiting room? Admit all. Requirement A1. Calculate shuttle's income tax liability for the tax year 22-23, 8 marks. We need to calculate income tax liability. Then A2 says calculate the amount of tax relief obtained by shuttle as a consequence of the gross personal pension contribution 120. We'll see A2 later on. First, let us deal with A1. That is the main thing. Then we need to calculate income tax liability. And I assume so far everyone has seen, obviously, lectures on income tax relating to individuals. And let me tell you one more thing, please. It's a request. Everyone must try to follow your planner. Strictly follow the planner and try to be ahead of your planner rather than the behind of your planner. So I hope that everyone has the planner also. Our admin, I believe, should have shared the planner with every one of you. Let's see, shuttle. You should assume that today's date is 1st May 2023. Okay. Your firm has been asked to provide advice to shuttle in connection with personal pension contributions and 3 non-UK domicile individuals in connection with the remittance basis of taxation for overseas income and gains. Personal pension contribution. We know that in case of personal pension, whatever individual contributes, that is 80%, 20% is paid by HMRC. Second, with the gross PPC. By the gross PPC, your basic and high rate band limits, they increase. Third, gross PPC reduces adjusted net income as well. Shuttle has been the production director of Dean Limited since 1st Feb 2010. Okay. Shuttle joined a personal pension scheme on 6 April 2020. Fine. Shuttle's tax position for the tax year 22-23. Shuttle's only source of income is her remuneration from Dean Limited. Shuttle annual salary is 2,04,000. This is substantial increase on the previous year. Okay. So previously, whatever she was getting or he was getting, right now, in the current year, the salary is 2,04,000. Shuttle lived in a house owned by Dean Limited. It means we should be thinking for the accommodation benefit as well. For a period of time during the tax year 22-23. It means this individual has not lived for the entire year. They're saying something. Shuttle lived in a house owned by Dean Limited for a period of time. So we'll see how many months in the current tax year Shuttle has lived. The house provided by Dean Limited for Shuttle's use was purchased by Dean Limited on 1st Feb 2010 for 5 lakh. Since it costed the company more than 75,000 pounds, so it is an expensive accommodation. Has an annual value of 7,000. This is the rent value. Okay, there was little bit technical issue with the internet. Now it has sorted out, Alhamdulillah. Okay, we were somewhere here. Okay. So in the current tax year, which started on 6 April 2022, ends on 5th April 2023. Shuttle lived only for 3 months, from 6 April 2022 till 30th June 2022. So there are 3 months. So in the current tax year, shuttle has left only 3 months. Another thing is, we will not be replacing. The market value is irrelevant for us. The market value is irrelevant for us because the house was not given to the shuttle in the current tax year. Actually, the Limited purchased the house on 1st January 2022, and on a very next month, it was given to shuttled. So the rule when we replace the cost with the market value will not apply here, because the house was not given to the shuttled after 6 years of purchasing the house. So that is why the cost will not be replaced by the market value. So market value is irrelevant. Contribution to Shuttle's personal pension scheme. Shuttle has made the following gross. It's already mentioned, the gross contribution. We know that if nothing is mentioned, then it is net. But right now it is categorically written. The following contributions are gross. So 6 April 2020, Shuttle contributed gross 9,000, then 38, then 120. The Limited employer company also contributed 4,000 to the scheme in each tax year. Okay. Remittance basis, that is not relevant right now for us because we're just focusing on calculating income tax liability for the tax year 22-23. Let us quickly calculate income tax liability 2022-23. Salary is 2,04,000. It is given to us. Now we need to calculate the accommodation benefit as well, but only for 3 months. If I just show you a working one, for accommodation benefit, working one, accommodation benefit. Annual value they have given us, it was 7,000. Annual value means the value of the rent. Annual value is 7,000. Since it is an expensive accommodation, so additional benefit will also come. But we will not be replacing the cost with the market value. Cost is 500,000 minus 75,000 into 2%. So 500,000 minus 75 gives me 4,25,000. Then if I take 2% of that, 8,500. So the benefit for the entire year is 15,500. But since in the current tax year, shuttle has lived only for 3 months. So accommodation benefit, which we will consider, only 3 months benefit. So basically 15,500, then simply 3 by 12. So the relevant benefit of shuttle is 15,500, 3 by 12. Even though the number of users I have reduced as well. Okay. 15,500 3 by 12. That gives us 3,875. Accommodation benefit is 3,875. So 2,04,000 plus 3,875 gives me 2,07,875. That is my net income. Now, actually, we need to check. Do we get personal allowance here or not? Because right now we can see that income is more than 1 lakh. So we need to check adjusted net income. So let me share second working 2. Adjusted net income. Net income is 2,07,875. Let me deduct the gross PPC. Gross PPC in the current tax year is 1,20,000. If your adjusted net income is 1 lakh or less than that, then entire personal allowance is available. So 2,07,875 minus 1,20,000. I'm getting 87,875. Since adjusted net income is even lower than 1 lakh, so entire personal allowance is available. But you have, whenever you see the net income more than 1 lakh, you have to perform adjusted net income working. If you're not performing adjusted net income and you're doing directly, even though you might be correct, but still you will be losing 0.5 marks. So where the relevant rules are applicable, you need to apply those rules. So you are not supposed to skip those rules. So less personal allowance, and I'm going to give the reference of the working, which is working 2, 12570. So I'll get taxable income. $2,07,875 minus 12,570 gives us 1,95,305. And this entire income is non-saving income. The entire income is non-saving. Now let us simply calculate income tax liability. We know that whatever individual contributes in PPC, it is 80%, 20% is paid by HMRC. Second, by the gross PPC, your basic and higher rate band limits, they will be increased. With a gross PPC, your basic and higher rate band limits will be increased. So it means simply over here, what was that? Adjusted net income was less than. Therefore, personal allowance 12570 is available. Now let me show you the working 3. Basic rate band 37,700 plus the gross PPC, which is 1,20,000. High rate band 1,50,000 plus 120. . So basic rate band limit is now 1,57,700. High rate band goes to 2,70,000. Look at the taxable income. Can I say entire basic rate band will be utilized and some of the income will definitely fall in higher rate band. So basic rate, non-saving, 1,57,700. And this is we are getting from working 3 into 20%. If I use my calculator, 1,57,700 into 20%, I'm getting 31,540. Okay, now what? From this 1,95,305, let us deduct 1,57,700. Whatever the remaining amount comes, that definitely falls in higher rate. So 1,95,305 minus 1,57,700. I'm getting 37,605. Into 40%. I'm getting 15,042. Now, dear students, we need to check one more concept, one more rule. That is, we know that annual allowance of the pension is having a limit of 40,000. So we need to check either the contribution, total contribution of settled plus the employer contribution in pension. Is it more than 40,000 or less than 40? Because if it is, for example, less than 40,000, then we know that unused annual allowance limit, we carry forward for 3 tax years. And we use that on FIFO basis. Repeat, annual allowance limit is 40,000. If the contribution, total contribution of settled plus the employer is less than 40,000, then unused limit is carried forward for 3 tax years. And that limit is used on FIFO basis. But if the contribution exceeds 40,000, the total contribution of settled and employer exceeds 40,000, then on that excess contribution is actually, we treat that excess contribution as annual allowance charge. And if the annual allowance charge comes, then obviously, if it falls in higher rate band, right now we do have a limit, unused limit in higher rate band, then applicable tax rate will be 40%. Basically, whatever annual allowance charge amount comes, we treat that amount while applying tax rate as non-saving income. So we need to check either there was a contribution more than 40,000 or the contribution is less than 40,000. So I think they have given us the information. Look at this. 6 April 2020 means the tax year is 2021. Shuttle contribution was 9,000. Honor contribution is 4,000. It means from 40,000, annual allowance limit, we know that it is 40. From 40,000, if I deduct both of these contribution, that is 9,000 minus 4, I'm getting unused annual allowance limit of 27,000. And definitely in 2021, it is carried forward for next 3 tax years. And it is used on FIFO basis. Okay. Now look at this. What happened in the next year? In second year, then I'll be doing the proper calculation. Don't worry at all. 21, 22. Actually, in 21, 22, annual allowance is 40,000. We do have unused 27 also. But what was the contribution in 21, 22? The contribution by shuttle was 38. That is the gross contribution. An employer contributed 4,000. So still there is unused limit. We still have unused limit of 25,000. When it comes to 22, 23, annual allowance we have 40. If I take unused, this 25. But the contribution in the current tax year, gross PPC is 1,20,000 by shuttle, and employer contribution is 4,000. Which means that there is annual allowance charge of 59,000. This is your annual allowance charge. So there is an annual allowance charge of 59,000. So if we let me show this working properly to you over somewhere here. So far we have performed 3 workings. Let's go for working 4. Let's see annual allowance availability. Annual allowance available in 2022-23. We have annual allowance of 22-23, that is 40,000. Let's add unused annual allowance also. So in the first year, 2021, it was 40 and gross PPC was 9. The limited contribution was 4. So 40 minus 9 minus 4, I'm getting 27. That is carried forward. Okay. In 21, 22. What happened in 21, 22? Annual allowance is 40. This carried forward is brought forward for this 21, 22, which is 27,000. So in 21, 22, gross PPC by shuttle is 38. The limited contribution is 4,000. So 67 minus 42. Carry forward is 25. This carry forward will be actually, you can say brought forward or unused, which is 25. It means annual allowance available in 22-23 is 65,000. Less gross PPC, which is 1,20,000. less the unlimited contribution, which is 4. Or you can also represent the same calculation like this, deduct this 65. So we'll be having an annual allowance charge. Which is 59,000. Now listen and listen carefully. Another thing, you might be thinking, sir, why we are not checking either in the current tax year annual allowance 40,000 is available or less than that. Actually, your annual allowance limit also reduces when two conditions are met. The condition number 1 is threshold income has to be more than 200,000. And I did mention in my regular lectures as well. Actually, there is no difference when it comes to the format of threshold income and adjusted net income. So your threshold income must be more than 200,000. And your adjusted total income must be more than 2,40,000. But first you need to check the threshold income. Since there is no difference between threshold income and adjusted net income, look at this. You can see that your adjusted net income, another name is threshold income, is actually far more less than 200,000. That is why annual allowance 40,000 limit will not be reduced. But it is highly advisable that you need to show this in your answer as well. Why annual allowance limit is not reduced. So let me show you working 5 as well. So let me repeat all those rules which are applicable in a relevant question, even though in the main calculation they do not have any part, but still you have to mention all those rules. If you're not mentioning, you will be losing marks. So let us deal with threshold income. The tax year we are working is 22-23. Net income 2,07,875. Less gross PPC. So the threshold income is 87,875. So threshold income is not exceeding 200,000. So there's no need to calculate adjusted income because annual allowance limit will not be reduced. So simply, since threshold income is not exceeding 200,000, therefore entire annual allowance 40,000 is available. So annual allowance charge is 59,000, but we need to check, do we have enough space in higher rate band? I think we do have enough space because the higher rate band ends on 2,70,000. And so far we have reached only on 1,95,305. So annual allowance charge, that is working for 59,000 into 40%. So let me use the calculator. 59,000 into 40%. I'm getting 23,600. Here comes the income tax liability. So your income tax liability is 70,000. 182. Okay, now what? Let's go to part B, what they're saying now. A2. Calculate the amount of tax relief obtained by shuttle as a consequences of the gross PPC 120. Actually, you need to just tell us exactly what tax benefits shuttle has received due to the contribution of this 1,20,000. Whatever tax benefit shuttle has received, you need to tell us all the benefits. Okay. To calculate what exactly benefits shuttle has received due to this gross PPC 120, let us first calculate income tax liability without gross PPC, so that we can compare with gross PPC what we got and what do we have without gross PPC. Why I'm doing this? Because you have to tell the examiner exactly what are the tax benefits which shuttle has received due to this gross PPC. So we know what was the total taxable amount. Let's go back. No need to do the entire calculation. Number one, can I say if there is no gross PPC, then no personal allowance will be available. Am I right? Because net income is 2,07,875, which is far more than 1,25,140. If you recall the rule, whoever is having adjusted net income more than equal to 1,25,140 actually gets personal allowance 0. So since we are calculating income tax with ignoring gross PPC, so it means for us now taxable income is 2,07,875. Is this clear to everyone? No personal allowance will be available. So simply we are calculating income tax liability without gross PPC. So basic rate band is 37,700 into 20%. We know that it is 7,540. Higher rate band is 1,50,000. If I deduct 37,700, I'll get 1,12,300. Applicable tax rate is 40%. So 1,12,300. If I take 40% of that, I'm getting 44,920. Since we need to tax 2,07,875. Now higher rate band limit is 150, which we have utilized. So if I deduct 150 from 2,07,875, I'm getting 57,875. Can I say logically 57,875? That amount actually falls in additional rate, where applicable tax rate is 45%. If I take 45% of 57,875, I'm getting 26,044. So here comes income tax liability without gross PPC. So 7,540 plus 44,920 plus 26,044, that gives me 78,504. And right now, what was the amount of the liability? 70,182. Income tax liability with gross PPC. Whatever the difference comes, that is not the only benefit. Whatever the difference comes, it is not the only benefit. Now listen and listen carefully. Actually, the requirement A2 means whatever tax benefit shuttle has received due to the gross PPC of 120, you have to tell us all the benefits. Now listen. Actually, 1,20,000 is the gross contribution, which represents that actual contribution by shuttle is only 80%, and 20% is actually contributed by the HMRC. And obviously, when someone else is contributing on your behalf, that is also the benefit. So basically, actual contribution by shuttle is only 80%. 20% is another tax relief given by HMRC, which means that pension contribution by HMRC. Pension contribution. That is 24,000. So here comes the total tax relief. $78,504 minus 70,182 plus 24,000 gives me 32,322. So this is the actually total benefit which shuttle has received due to this gross PPC contribution of 1,20,000. So you can all see that in this just 20 marks question or 10 marks question, not 20. Examiner has actually examiner has actually asked, I would say, number of points relating to income tax liability only. Personal allowance was there. You had to check the personal allowance, will it be reduced or not? Second, you had to check what was the unused annual allowance. Another point you had to check in this question, annual allowance 40,000 in the current tax year is available or restriction will apply. A very important concept which I'm just telling you right now, whatever rules are applicable in the question, even though they have no effect on the main calculation, still you have to show all the rules in the form of working. Like in a very first part, entire personal allowance was available because the adjusted net income was less than 1 lakh. You could have done that directly, but it is not advisable to do it directly. It is highly advisable. Whatever rules are applicable, please show those rules working as well. Otherwise, you will be losing marks. So far, if you people have any questions, so your questions are more than welcome. And another thing is, I really want to know how many lectures you people have seen. So I'll really appreciate if you write in the chat box, what are the current status, how many lectures you have seen so far. Maybe from the coming week or otherwise, after the result, we will also start conducting your test as well, as I mentioned. But obviously, I have a target of conducting 13 tests. But you have to check, number one, you have to attempt the test. Second, I'll share the video lecture with you. Third, you have to check the test by yourself. If you have any confusions, any queries, you can ask in the WhatsApp group, or even you can ask in the live revision class. So ATX, just a minute. I think that's our second class, if I'm not wrong. That's excellent. 64, 65, 68. That's more than excellent, I would say. MashaAllah. What about others? Why? Why it is happening, Kalash, with you? Why you are unable to listen to us? Then Kalash, you should rejoin. This is the only, I would say, solution which we have. Please, someone can message the Kalash to rejoin. That might help him. Just let me bring the document. Just a minute. So is there any other thing if you people want to mention or ask? I'm just sharing the today's document. And I have to then end the class. If it is all okay. So you might have noticed now we have Alhamdulillah started discussing past paper questions. And now from here onwards, inshallah, we'll be discussing past paper questions, and slowly and gradually the live revision classes timing will increase. I hope today's class you might have found a little bit, I would say, more conceptual, logical than the first class. First class was on a basic, very basic concepts. But slowly and gradually, you will see the progress, inshallah. So let me end the class on this note that I just pray that every one of you should have a nice life. So have a nice life. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for coming up and attending this live revision class. I have shared the today's document as well. I've shared the today's document as well in your WhatsApp groups, in your respective WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.